There's this game nobody's ever played called The Ship that I probably think about more than anyone else on the planet. It's a game about conspiracy, murder, and pooping, which are my three personal favourite pastimes. But the reason it sticks out in my mind is that it was the first game I ever played as a kid that really disappointed me. See, not unlike communism or anal sex, it sounds great on paper, but is actually kinda shitty when put into practice. Basically, you and a bunch of other weebs are trapped on a boat together, and everyone is assigned another passenger to kill, which means you have to find your own unique person to do a murder on, all the while trying to avoid having a murder done on you. And you're specifically told to find creative ways to do said murders. And that's a great premise, right? However, the game's issues rear its head the second you leave your cabin to find your quarry has rather conveniently fallen asleep not 6 feet away from your front door. You know, the way people fall asleep on public benches in ships they've purchased private accommodation in, and also what are you doing? There was someone trying to murder you, you malignant reprobate. I'm sorry, I kind of let the syntax of that sentence get away from me. I'm just so angry all of the time. So you ask this lady a question, and both her torso and this game's selling point have been cut in half. The next mission is tricking the person who's trying to kill you into killing this guy who looks exactly like you, except he's got an eye patch. Okay, that's kind of funny. But like, in a game where the premise is kill or be killed, the kill and be killed aspect has been dealt with inside the first 10 minutes. You don't have to hunt down your quarry, you don't have to worry about being hunted. The rest of the game is just spent running around doing fetch quests and killing people in the exact ways you were specifically asked not to, until something happens, presumably. I don't know, I couldn't bring myself to finish it. Apparently there's an online mode too, which was the main attraction, and that makes sense. In a game where the hook is yeet or be yeeted, there are only really two mechanical climaxes. And it seems like that'd be spreading itself thin over an 8+ hour campaign, but works perfectly for snappy multiplayer matches. Unfortunately, I haven't really been able to play the online mode because zoinks, Scoob. But from what I can gather, you're kind of just told where your quarry is, and then you just sort of go there and stab him. And it breaks my heart because I'm absolutely in love with the concept for this game. A game where you're trying to figure out who your target is and discreetly assassinate them in a crazy slapstick fashion, all the while looking over your shoulder knowing that someone's trying to Wile E. Coyote you in return. God damn it, coach, put me in! But this?
Bro, I'm straight up not having a good time.
If only there was a handsome and charming bachelor out there who had the tenacity to workshop this concept into something salvageable and was also super good at kissing, he said, sloppily setting himself up for the next segment of the video. So here's the idea. An even number of players spawn in on a ship. Ideally around 100 per match, but for this example, let's say 10. Because that's the highest number I can count to without taking my socks off. Each passenger is randomly assigned a name, gender, one passenger to kill, and one to be killed by. For each target you successfully assassinate, you collect a bounty, which varies depending on how quickly/creatively you manage to kill them. The goal is simply to survive, which you can accomplish by either being the last man standing, or earning enough money to afford passage off the ship. Each player starts the game in their cabin with only one piece of information, a name. The goal from there is to gather as much information about your target as possible, correctly assign a face to the name, and murder him up real good without getting caught and or murdered yourself. So let's say you're Mr. Alias 4 name. If you successfully kill your target, you collect their bounty, plus whatever cash they had on them, and inherit their target, so on and so forth. If you successfully kill your hunter, you collect your own bounty, plus whatever cash they had on them, and their hunter now becomes your hunter. But all the information they had gathered on their previous target becomes irrelevant, because obviously, and they effectively have to start from scratch. If you manage to earn enough money to escape, then your quarry becomes your hunter's new target. If you have multiple quarries or hunters for whatever reason, they're divvied up amongst each other randomly. And finally, if you kill someone who isn't your hunter or target for whatever reason, that person's hunter collects half of their bounty and you get to keep a quarter, plus whatever cash they had on them. You also become the dead guy's hunter's new target. It also means if you go around just killing people at random, you'll accumulate several hunters and probably won't survive very long. Maybe if you kill the wrong person 3 times, you become free game and everyone on the ship is given your name, appearance, and location. Okay, I know all that was a little confusing, but with this rule set, everyone will always have at least one person to hunt and be hunted by, so there's always something to do. Right, Now that all that nerd shit is out of the way, we can start talking about the core gameplay loop. I like the first person perspective and general aesthetic of the game, so we can keep all that. But my first big deviation is the way you go about killing your quarry. At the beginning of the campaign, the creatively titled antagonist named Mr. X says,
"Try and rise above the mundane of the shoot and stab."
But then you spend the rest of the game shooting and stabbing. So my solution is no direct combat, forcing you to channel your inner bald guy and come up with more creative ways of sending your target to the Shadow Realm. Because a good murder is like a breakup, in that there's nothing wrong with the quick and painless approach, but isn't it much more fun to meticulously plan out a convoluted and indirect way specifically designed to cause as much pain and embarrassment as humanly possible? I should go to therapy. These wacky murder methods include, but are not limited to, poison, lifeboat to the head, toaster to the swimming pool, a door-activated booby trap, shark, Navy SEAL in a box, old age, a small animal that explodes the moment your target loves it the most. The possibilities are endless. I mean, these ships would just be absolute death traps, not built to code at all. Maybe one map could be on a spaceship, and you could open the blast doors and send your target tumbling into space. You get the idea. The ship also has this sort of Sims-esque needs bar, which requires you to sleep, shit, shower, and socialize. And I like that idea because it keeps you from hiding in a corner for the whole game and forces you out into public. But what if taking care of your basic needs made you vulnerable for a short time? Like, you could be drowned in the toilet when you're trying to pee, or smothered to death in your sleep. There could even be a little timed minigame to complete these actions faster, Dead by Daylight styles. And what if your character is given 2 or 3 specific tasks to complete daily, like read in the library at 2 PM or go swimming at 9 AM? Just general recreational activities you can only engage in if it's one of your character's randomly generated interests. And by consistently meeting those requirements, you gain a money multiplier for when you kill your target, but also put yourself at risk of becoming predictable. So, for example, maybe you know your target likes to golf at 7 o'clock, so you hang out at the shooting range around that time to see who shows up. And it works the other way around too, where you might notice a mysterious mustached man who's constantly hanging around the swimming pool at 9 AM, but not swimming, and also keeps saying, "I'm going to murder you," over and over in the public chat. Yes, very suspicious indeed. There could even be like side quests given to you by NPC barmen or bellboys. So like, steal this thing from this room, or give me X amount of money and I'll give you some info on your target. But maybe your hunter could pay for info about your task and set up a trap for you. You could also gather information on other players through general socializing, be it actually conversing with other players in the game or mechanical interactions. Like, say you're playing poker in the casino, for example, but every time you win a hand, the dealer says, and the pot goes to Mr. or Mrs. whatever your last name is. So now, everyone playing at the table knows your last name, and even though you're winning money and increasing your chances of getting off the ship, so too do the odds of someone realizing you're their mark and poisoning your drink or something. Everything has a risk-reward system built into it. Another example would be like, if you eat at the same table as some other players, you all automatically exchange one random piece of information about yourselves. At the start of the game, the odds of that information being relevant to you are literally 1 in 100, but as the game progresses and the number of passengers are whittled down, the odds of you being assigned a target you already know plenty about increases, and by extension so does the pace of the game. Now, obviously as the game continues and more people are killed, you won't be able to rely on wacky Acme death traps. Like, no one's gonna fall for the old exploding dog trick if there are 5 passengers on board and everyone is suspicious of everyone. So my solution would be, after enough time has passed or a certain threshold of dead players is met, some of the areas become PvP zones, and you can just freely engage in combat. Starting out in the boat porch, I forget what it's called, I don't know boat lore, and moving inwards. Kind of like the death zones in Apex or Fortnite, only more organic and less blue. I really like this idea, because it means as the game progresses, the ship slowly dissolves from clandestine slapstick shenanigans into this crazy no-holds-bars shootout pandemonium. It would also allow for those funny John Wick moments where 2 people trying to kill each other suddenly have to be civil because they stepped onto continental grounds. But what do you guys think? Do you think this game sounds fun, or do I have no idea what I'm talking about? Throw out your thoughts and ideas in the comments and we can workshop it together. I know this video was different from my other stuff, so let me know if you like these kinda hypothetical game design videos, and maybe I'll do more of them, or never do it again, and we can just pretend this whole thing never happened. Oh, before I go, I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Stevie Pilgrim, who makes these sick remixes out of video game music. I'll shut up for a second so you can listen. One day he messaged me on Twitter, regan, offered to cover one of my favourite songs for the outro, and then wouldn't let me pay him for the trouble. So go check him out. I'll link to his stuff at the end and in the thing. The dude's just 10 out of 10. Anyways, that's about it for today. So join us next time when our topic will be workshopping a multiplayer game that's not about murdering people on a boat.
I was smoking cigarettes and patios. I was going